Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to attend our session on mental health and wellbeing within the Danny Sullivan Group. My name is Feila Egan and I am the HSQA Director for the Danny Sullivan Group, and today I will be presenting alongside with my colleague Rory Coffey, who is our Health, Safety and Wellbeing Manager.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Rory and I'm the Health, Safety and Wellbeing Manager for Danny Sullivan Group.
For the next 30 minutes, we will just explain our journey, the ups and downs that we've had, the lessons learned, and what the future holds for us with regards to our mental health programme. A bit on the agenda for the session. So basically, I'm just going to give you a brief introduction to the Danny Sullivan Group, why we took action and added mental health to the top of our agenda. We will explain a bit about our journey from the beginning until now. I'll also explain what our future looks like and what 2021 looks like for us. And we will finish on a brief message from our Managing Director, Timothy O'Sullivan. So a bit about the Danny Sullivan Group. So Danny Sullivan Group was established in 1986 and has been collaborating with its clients to supply skilled professional labour to the rail, transportation, civil engineering and construction industries. We have approximately 1,500 members of our workforce deployed on projects all across the UK. These projects range from Crossrail, High Speed 2, Hinkley Point, Smart Motorway Scheme and the A14, and many more of these key infrastructure projects across the UK. At the Danny Sullivan Group, we pride ourselves in our company values and ensuring that our staff go home safe, happy, and healthy every day. This is our utmost priority for the business. As our people are the core of all that we do, one of our core values instilled in the business is creating a culture of care and support for all of our staff employed by us. So, what does that mean? Basically, it means we want everyone home safe, happy, and healthy every single day. We want to influence the culture of the workplace to always do the right thing. We have an open door policy, so we want everybody to speak up, no matter what the issues are. We also want to ensure that we create an inclusive culture and by embedding a strong mental health program within our business to ensure that we are putting the health back into health and safety. Now I will hand you over to my colleague Rory to explain in more detail our current journey and how and why the journey begun.
Okay, great. Thanks, Feila. I guess just before we get into what we did, I think it's important we take a minute to reflect why it is that we acted. And we can do that by taking a look at our wider society and understanding our industry a bit more. We know that 1 in 4 people will experience a mental health issue of some sort every single year. Sadly, suicide is the leading cause of death for men under 50 in the UK. And if we take it even further and look more closely at our industry, we know that the low skilled worker and quite often construction workers die by suicide at a rate that is 3 times higher than the national male average. And if we equate that to a daily basis, then it actually works out that 1 construction worker takes their own life every single day. And these are shocking statistics, yes, but what we have to remember is that behind each of these statistics is a father, a brother, a son, someone who ultimately didn't go back home to their family or their friends that night. And this is one of the reasons we knew we had to take action. When we saw these statistics coming out, we knew we had to do something. And we just wanted our workforce to start talking about these issues, speaking up if they needed help. But it's not enough to want them to do it. We recognized for our workforce to start the conversation, then we would actually have to lead that conversation at the outset. And we knew from speaking to some of our more open-minded and forward-thinking employees that they did voice a lack of accessibility or information to the resources, the support services that were actually out there for them. And while we move forward and try to be a more inclusive environment, it is important that we realize we do work in a very male-dominated industry, so there's still that huge macho culture there, that reluctance of men to speak up about what they're thinking, how they're feeling, if they're emotionally struggling. And that was another reason we had to take action. And it was just for us understanding the impact we had as an employer when we have staff that are spending more time at work together than they actually are at home with their friends and family once you take sleep out of the equation. We realized the power we had not just to support someone when something's wrong, but actually teach them things that they could promote positive mental health with. And that for us is where our journey began. So at the outset, we started off very, very small. We just started attending sites, delivering some really generic and just kind of high level overview toolbox talks, just introducing the topic, trying to drip feed in the conversation. And then we built on that with different presentations around different themes around mental health, and really just trying to educate people, get everyone involved, and open the conversation for everyone to just start talking, really. And in our head office, we brought in company leads. So we had different representatives from HR, operations, health and safety, and kind of key site contacts all come together as we tried to put all this different information in all the different areas we needed to look at and develop to actually build a mental health program that supported our employees. But one of the key areas that I would always say from the outset of our journey is the engagement we had with the supervisors. So that was at the very start when we began. We started speaking to our foremen, to our gangers, to our frontline leaders, really, who could just go out there, speak to the workforce, speak to different contractors, different employees, and just start to normalize the conversation, included in everyday talk. In part to the start of shift, they could start delivering the toolbox talk. So it isn't just the health and safety representative coming down every week to do it. And it's really just starting to bring it in from a multifaceted approach. So our journey began there. So in our head office, we developed our mental health policy, we implemented it, and we communicated it out to all our staff. We then launched our on-site mental health champions, who were trained up the initial cohort by Mind, and we launched them on one of our Crossrail tunneling projects, where the project was 24/7, and we knew there had kind of been some different issues, and we needed to make sure we were supporting people. From there, then, you will see two of the keywords on the side were engaging. So that for us was engaging and collaborating with our clients and our supply chain partners to go out there and hold conversations around building knowledge and identifying where we could work together. And it was about being open and honest with others, understanding that we are not all trained mental health professionals and we didn't know all the answers to build the best program in the world. So that honesty and that frank communication with one another allowed us to go out there and engage with knowledge experts, industry experts, and really kind of build on our resources that we could share with our staff while educating us as a company and our culture along the way. So we had some really good key moments. One of those is the picture here on the left. This is a Zoom call that we had during the height of lockdown, where everyone on that screen just really came together and we just checked in with one another just to speak about how we were feeling, any struggles we'd had, the kind of emotional journey of the past few weeks. And again, it was led by our MD, Tim, and it was just really good to see everyone be so open and honest kind of about the struggles. I don't think anyone was really having a good time. But it is also a kind of conversation and meeting that we may not have had many years ago. Along the way, we've also signed the Building Mental Health Charter, which again further demonstrates our commitment to just challenging the stigma and working with the industry to do better and kind of build better. Luckily as well, I had the opportunity to become a mental health first aid instructor. So we've moved away from having our mental health champions in our workforce to actually having mental health first aiders. So our operations, our health and safety team, and our site-based team are all trained mental health first aiders, our site-based team being our foremen and supervisors, and we're ultimately working towards the target of having one mental health first aider for every 25 employees. So as discussed, we had our mental health policy implemented. We introduced our employee assistance program. We made sure that was communicated to everyone. And in addition to that, we built a resource page on our website, which had different advice and support services for people from different ethnic backgrounds, different religions, different cultures. Just really tried to get something for everyone, and it was readily available to download. And if an employee didn't want to come forward to us, they could download it directly from the website, and it was just another barrier broken down. So as I say to everyone when I discuss that, please feel free to log on to our website, download it, pinch it with pride, and send it out to your workforce. It's all about sharing the information. One of the key areas, though, that really helped our program develop was that honest communication and that collaboration, which allowed us to kind of take part in different working groups and different mental health working groups. One of the key ones for us being when we went in with Tideway, that allowed us to build and introduce the mental health maturity matrix. So the mental health maturity matrix, which you see here, it looks very text heavy, but this is based off the Stevenson Farmer Thriving at Work review, which discussed the different things companies and employers need to have in place to promote positive mental health within their workforce and also manage someone who is struggling. So within the mental health working group, we set the 6 standards, as you can see on the left, and we set different benchmarks from unaware up to an advanced level. And we sat there, that is, as clients, as tier ones, suppliers, labor suppliers, and contractors, and we scored ourselves, and we scored ourselves very, very honestly in the room, and there was no judgment. And it was about each of us looking where we were at, where we were strong, where we were weak, and how we could build ourselves forward and build better for the future. Now, if I was to look at us as a company a couple of years ago, I can say honestly, we were probably in or around here. Yes, we might have had a couple of different things in place, but they weren't cohesive. They might not have been reaching everyone. They may not have been as impactful as they should have been. But as we've kind of gone on over the years, the last benchmark we did for ourselves, we were about here, which is a score I'm definitely very proud of for us as a company, considering it hasn't been that long of a time. And of course, we're always working to do better and reach that advanced level, which we always say should be pretty hard to reach, because once you hit advanced, then it's tough to go any higher. So you should always be seeking to get to that level 4. So every year we benchmark ourselves on this. I think we're due to do our next benchmark next week. And from there, then we set our targets based off each of these metrics for the year. And while those targets might change every single year, our strategy is a couple of core themes. One of them being training. So that is delivering mental health first aid training to our workforce and to key personnel. It doesn't just have to be supervisors. It can be anyone who's passionate and shows leadership. And it's about support, ensuring our employee assistance programs are in place, but most importantly, they're communicated, because you can have the best advice, support, and counselling services available. But if your employees don't know how to access it, then it renders it quite useless. The third one being around education. So this is, again, open to everyone. That it doesn't always have to be formal training. It doesn't have to be mental health first aid training. It's whatever you have, whatever you can do to educate, train your workforce to understand their mental health better, develop their knowledge around it, and build their skills around managing it. So this is stuff we do around like toolbox talks on various different themes, and some other stuff Feila will touch on soon. And just different, again, non-formal training, but things that build the workforce's skills. Then we have our collaboration, as we said, mental health presentations and workshops delivered to the supply chain staff and to our own staff. When we go to sites, I don't want to just be putting Danny Sullivan people in the room. Likewise, if another contractor goes to site, I would really like when they bring our employees in, and it really gives off that one team, one vision approach, that at the end of the day, it doesn't matter who's on the back of the hive is. We're all human beings at the end of the day with friends, families, and loved ones, and we should all be supporting ourselves. As well, very important for this is the communication. And when I say communication, I mean the senior level commitment to us achieving the mental health targets that we set every single year. Quite often with the strategy, we will be asking people to do things that are outside of their day-to-day job role. So having that senior leadership commitment visibly demonstrated and communicated empowers people to go out and actually achieve those. One of the key areas we see that is around the engagement as well. So the engagement is our operations and our health and safety teams. Just going down, getting onto site, going to the actual workplace, to the coalface, and engaging with the staff, holding some real conversations. Doesn't even have to be about safety, just discussing, building relationships, understanding what's going on in our staff's lives. And it's all those things that are really going to make a difference and really start to normalize the conversations to take place when we're not there. So that is where we were, and this is where we are presently. So that's quite a kind of whistle-stop tour of that. And I guess one question everyone's going to ask is, yeah, but was it successful? So I'm going to bring you back and talk about one of the key areas I was talking about, which is engagement. And this is just a bit of an example of what I definitely view as the most successful moment in our program. I was down delivering a presentation to our workforce inside a canteen, nice and full, pre-COVID, of course. And I was just discussing around mental health and just giving some information and knowledge. And sitting in front of me were 2 of our employees, 2 older Irishmen that I actually used to work with on site, and they were sitting there kind of eyes down, arms crossed. I wasn't really sure if they were taking it on board, but I was mid-presentation, so I couldn't really stop and question them. So I left, I went to the next site, and when I was on the next project, I actually got a phone call off one of them who said he was worried for another one of our employees that he works with on a day-to-day basis. He said he was really quiet the last couple of weeks, hadn't been himself, usually liked to laugh and have a joke, and he was quite serious. So I thanked him for letting me know, and I said, look, I will get back to him and contact that employee when I get in off site. And just as I arrived back in our site, the other man who was sitting in front of me came and asked the exact same question. Or he rang me with the exact same question if I could give him a call because he didn't seem himself and they were quite worried. So this is when I kind of thought this might be serious. So I went and I rang that employee and he said he was okay, but he did agree the next morning to come and meet me for a cup of tea, which was great. And as I was sitting with him, I could tell as the conversation went on, he was quite guarded, but he wasn't really in a good headspace. There was some things going on. And after a couple of attempts, he eventually agreed to go to a GP with me. So we got in a taxi, we went up to the GP, and I just kind of thanked him for coming with me and said it's a really good thing that he's seeking the help. And that's when he turned around, he looked me in the eyes inside the taxi, and he said, "It doesn't matter what you say, I'm going to go home tonight and I'm going to kill myself." And he started telling me that I deserve to die, I deserve to die. So obviously then we saw the gravity of the situation. He went to the GP, and needless to say, we did go quite quickly up to the hospital where this employee stayed for a couple of months. But as a company, we were able to support him, we were able to support his family, along with the fantastic work the NHS did. And after a couple of months, I'm really, really proud to say that that employee went back to the exact same site, the exact same job role, with the exact same work gang, and nobody looked at him any different for it. And that's what's so important, is that is an example of what can happen and the positives of when we treat mental health just like physical health. So people ask me, do you think the program's a success? And for this reason alone, I will always say yes, on top of everything else that happens afterwards. If we save one person's life like that, then it's a success. And it's not a success because of us as a company, it's a success because our employees felt empowered to speak up and speak up about mental health. And ultimately, we would not have realized as an employer there was an issue there unless they had spoken up. And that for us is what made all the difference. So that's where we're at. And I'm going to pass you back to Feila now to discuss about the future plans we have with regards to our mental health programme.
Thanks very much, Rory. So what's next for the Danny Sullivan Group, you might ask? In this next section, I'm just going to briefly take you through some of the key target areas that we've set ourselves for 2021 to continue on this journey of mental well-being. So we have set ourselves a target to host webinars, lunch and learns, and on-demand webcasts, which will be readily available to all of our staff to listen to at any time. We've already developed a monthly mental health curriculum, encouraging people to take mental health courses and ensuring that the ones that we have available actually align with our industry. These topics will touch on the very often looked over topics such as eating disorders, gambling, post-traumatic stress disorder, and personality disorders. We will call on, as we have in the past, industry experts to help us deliver with these topics. For example, in the past, we have engaged with Gambling Anonymous. It's a free service available to anybody, and it was an excellent informative briefing from the charity. We engaged with Gambling Anonymous just from simply knowing that a team member was struggling, and we were able to tap into Gambling Anonymous resources to help him out. In terms of absenteeism management, and I'm sure we'll all agree, this is an area that we could all do with getting a better grasp of. We as a business want to get a better grasp with absenteeism management associated with mental health. As an employer, navigating the absence and return to work process can be a challenge. So employees may need time off of work for a variety of reasons, yet not all organisations have a policy to manage this. And only a third of employers actually monitor the cost of absence. So we want to further enforce our DSG attendance policy through all of our company communications as a constant reminder. We want to keep better track of our employees' absences. We want to address unscheduled absences and no-shows straight away. But the most important thing is we want to, not just treat the symptoms. We want to discover the cause, understand the personal factors behind the absence. In terms of COVID-19, it has definitely brought us on many unexpected journeys and has made 2020 a whirlwind journey for us all, from various stresses, financial implications, job losses, losing loved ones. It has been a really, really tough year for everybody. For me, one of the most shocking statistics of all, that has just emerged from a recent study actually, was patients with a recent diagnosis of a mental health illness have a 7-fold increase of COVID-19 infection. So this makes a recent mental health diagnosis one of the strongest risk factors of the disease. This unexpected statistic emerged from a well-worked study just published in the Journal of World Psychiatry. we realise that it's never been more important to look after our employees' mental health and well-being, especially those who already suffer with their mental health. In terms of flexible working, it's of no surprise to any of us that working long hours and shift work can have massive impacts on our mental well-being. The pressure of an increasingly demanding work culture in the UK is probably the biggest and most pressing challenge to the mental health of the general population. So the Danny Sullivan Group have signed up with our clients to be part of the TimeWise trial. This is with TimeWise and Build UK, and it's about flexible working. By trialling new ways to structure and manage construction shifts, the project aims to attract a more diverse talent pool into the industry and improve workers' mental health. The findings from this study will be shared with the industry, but we are absolutely delighted to be taking part in this trial. Our industry has struggled to accommodate flexible working for too long, so we want to be at the forefront of the trial, being a key labour supplier to some of the key infrastructure projects around the UK. Mindfulness programs is next on our agenda. So if you're not familiar with Headspace, I'm sure a lot of you are. It's a very, very good app. If you're not familiar with it, download it. There's a free trial. I have often used it in the past, but it's basically an award-winning research-backed app that has hundreds of meditations. So from stress to sleep to focus and anxiety. So we are looking into free access to Headspace for all DSG employees. We're just doing our research on it at the minute, but that is the long-term plan, that we would all have access to this on top of our employee assistance programs. So, as well as having a huge impact on individual employees, poor mental health has severe repercussions for employers, including increased staff turnover, sickness absence, burnout, exhaustion, decreased motivation, and lost productivity. But while companies of all shapes and sizes increasingly understand the importance of good mental health, many simply don't feel confident to have the conversations or, handling and communicating the issues that are in the workplace. So to close on today's presentation, I would like to leave you with our Managing Director, Timothy O'Sullivan, whose passion and support for mental well-being has always been a major priority for him and the family values of the Danny Sullivan Group.
Hello, I'm Tim O'Sullivan, the Managing Director of the Danny Sullivan Group. I'm going to take a few moments to share with you why I believe that looking after employees' mental health and well-being is so important. Over the last number of years, we've seen some frightening statistics around mental ill health. The biggest killer of men under the age of 45 is suicide. 94 men in the UK take their lives every week, and that number is going up. So is the number of women and young people under the age of 21 who die from suicide. In total, 126 people a week take their lives in the UK. Many will never have had a mental health issue diagnosed, and many will never have shared how they were feeling before it all got too much. While we work to make our industry more inclusive, a majority male workforce has unfortunately resulted in a macho culture in which speaking up about mental health issues is even harder. As someone who is passionate about mental health and well-being, I firmly believe we need to act decisively and together as an entire industry and community to improve this situation and reverse the tide of suffering and deaths. For too long we have shouted safety and whispered health. We must do better, and this is why I have empowered my teams to create a mental health programme which will be rolled out to all our employees, informing them of the various supports available, the need to be open, share our struggles, and create an environment where the stigma around poor mental health does not hold anyone in silence. My father founded the Danny Sullivan Group over 30 years ago, and to this day we are guided by family values. My father always treated staff like they were family, and this is a tradition I'm proud to carry on and champion. Our people are our top priority. We want to create working environments where our people thrive and become the best versions of themselves. COVID-19 presents an unprecedented risk to our physical health, and there can be no true health without mental health. And this is what I want to promote and foster in our culture. I'm extremely proud to how far we've come as a company and as an industry in terms of supporting mental health and well-being and recognising its importance. However, it is a journey that by no means is over, and every day, through collaboration, we must continue to normalise the conversation, empower people to seek support, and in doing so, remember we are potentially saving a life. Thank you for all your help with this campaign, and I wish you all great health.